Hey, y'all. I know what you're thinking. Oh my God, not another podcast. And I agree. I'm typically that person that doesn't listen to podcasts either. But my name is Will Johnson, and I'm here to bring something a little different for you. This is the At Home-ish podcast, creating spaces where we belong. It is my pleasure to welcome you to episode 14 of the At Home-ish podcast, so creating spaces where we belong. I am excited to have a guest here today who I'm going to allow to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Sarah Dillon Jensen, the Market Maven. I run 3 large farmers markets in Snohomish County and then have my own podcast called the Market Maven Podcast.
Yes, the Market Maven.
Yes.
So if you've been to the markets in Snohomish, Lake Stevens, where else? Stanwood, this is the person who makes the magic happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm so glad to have her here on my podcast. I was actually a guest on her podcast a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Beginning of season 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You kicked it off.
That was so much fun. And then I remember we had a little incident with the recording.
Yeah, it was supposed to be season 1. And then because of the incident with recording, you kicked off season 2 because we got a redo.
Yeah. But it was so cool because in the sense of some of the conversations that we're having, to have a relationship building, to have that initial conversation, and then to have a redo.
Exactly.
It was just that much more comfortable.
Exactly.
And
yes.
so even when I think back to the theme for that episode of the podcast, it was about having those uncomfortable conversations. And how do we navigate that? We navigate that by engaging in the conversation to build that level of comfort to actually address what it is we're trying to do.
Yeah. And I can tell you it was super uncomfortable to reach out and be like, hi, I messed up. And so would you like to come do this again?
Yeah. But it was all good because, when I think about what it is that we're communicating to the world, we want to get that message out there. And so things happen. And so we figure it out and we move on. So it was not a problem at all.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So I am curious because I know, you've done multiple episodes of your podcast, but some of my listeners may not know who you are, how you got into what you're doing. So could you please share how you got started in working with the markets and what are you most proud of with that work?
Yeah, so it started 11 years ago. I was super unhappy with my corporate job and had bounced around, and the bouncing around was starting to happen more frequently, which kind of was an indicator that something was wrong. And I came down to Snohomish and was volunteering for a few different events and just meeting really, really cool people. I think it was back in the very start of the wine walks. And then I met the woman that ran the wine walks and did the events and promotions. And I said, just jokingly, if you ever need an assistant, I would love to help because I'm looking to get out of the corporate world. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, she needed an assistant. And so we created a relationship. I started working with her and then doing some social media for other clients or shops and things like that down here. And then through a connection, somebody said the farmer's market is looking for a new manager. And I was like, I don't know anything about being a farmer's market manager. And they were like, you do events. It can't be that different. So I applied and I interviewed over here at Toto, Mexico, and they made me go outside for 5 minutes and then come back in and they hired me. And I started not knowing anything. I mean, having an idea of how to organize, but closing down streets and putting vendors in there. And at the time, it was a small market. It was 40 vendors. And that seemed huge to me. Right. But then I found out after my first season, I was like, this could be so much more. It could be so much bigger. And then going to conferences and things like that are solely based around farmers markets and building farmers markets and learning the ins and outs. I just got so inspired because markets are the win-win-win. You're supporting local farms and keeping that agricultural land used in our neighborhoods and in our communities. You're providing food access to people that might be low income or regular income. And then you're also creating a business incubator for somebody that has the idea for a small business, but they don't have the overhead for, a brick and mortar. Because we all know even just renting a house right now or renting an apartment is insanity. So you can only imagine it's that much more for somebody that's going to have to invest a bunch of money. The market is a really simple opportunity for them just to see how their business would fly in the neighborhood.
That's awesome. What would you say is some of your biggest challenges with the market?
Oh, that could be a whole episode
Okay.
in and of itself. The challenges can be the community. So
Mhm.
ensuring the community understands what they're paying for when they shop locally. We've become so accustomed to that instant gratification of Amazon. I use Amazon. I used it this morning for some stuff I need for the market tomorrow. I mean, it's so convenient,
Mhm.
but there's a drawback to it. It is starting to create a society that has that kind of expectation that it's just going to be there. I want blueberries. The blueberries better be at the farmer's market, that kind of thing.
Right.
So just really enforcing that shopping locally keeps most of that dollar in the community, which I think we all want to see more of. Another challenge is various administrations. So as we ebb and flow in administrations here in Snohomish and Lake Stevens, conservative, progressive, all of that kind of stuff you would think doesn't have a place in farmers markets.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it does.
Mhm.
And it's just frustrating because it should really be a political free zone. We're just trying to do good in the community. And then some of the other challenges are just heat. Climate change is a real thing.
Right.
I'm going to be out the next 3 days in
Ooh.
our heat wave.
Right.
The farmers are suffering, but they still have produce that's growing. It still has to be sold. So we can't just close down because it's hot or because it's raining in June, those types of things.
Mhm.
So I'd say those are kind of the big ones.
Wow. That's just, a lot to process when we think of.
It's a lot to unpack.
Oh my goodness. One question I didn't ask you, going back to your introduction, what's something that just really brings you joy?
Oh,
Mhm.
I would say it's 3:00. It's when the market opens. It's that collective sigh of, we did it again. It's here. Nobody knows about the fires that were all put out, to get here, and seeing the smiling faces of people coming a little bit early, and just like, wow, that glazed over kind of kid in a carnival look of, here we are again. This is such a great place to be.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So regardless of some of the major challenges and the work that goes into it, seeing people show up and engage in the market
Yes.
that's awesome.
And knowing and seeing people go to the people they know, like, oh, is so-and-so here today? Oh, yes, I can't. Or they have something for them. Like they've brought a gift for their farmer or their favorite vendor because they've actually taken the time to engage in conversation with them over their relationship building. And, I have these things that would be useful for them. I just think that's so awesome.
That is so cool. And I think I mentioned to you, I almost feel like with the farmer's market, it's like a family reunion every Thursday.
Yeah.
Because I've been in the community now for 3 years, and every year I've spent time at the market, progressively more each year. And I even had someone come up to me last year. They're like, do you have a booth? Because I see you here every Thursday. And I'm like, oh, not yet.
Soon,
coming soon to a street near you.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just a really good place for people to come together, which kind of really almost answers my next question. How do you feel that belonging shows up in your work?
I believe that everybody has a place. Everybody has an opportunity. We really try to promote that within the market, whether it's a vendor, whether it's a customer, whether it's somebody attending for the first time, like a tourist. We want to make sure that everybody feels like they belong there, like the food is accessible, like the prices are accessible. Like if somebody has food stamps, they are still treated just like everybody else shopping. Just because you're using wooden tokens doesn't make any difference to somebody using cash. And then vendors, making sure that they feel the love, they feel like they can come and they can set up and they can do their thing, but they can also build relationships with those around them and feel comfortable in asking questions, having the uncomfortable conversations. Like, what do you do that's bringing the people into your booth? Or can I ask you about your social media presence? Like, what are you doing? And not seeing it as a competition, but more of a collaboration. And then in general, like staff, volunteers, making sure they feel like they have a place to be able to help promote this thing that happens in their community. Most of our staff have come from volunteers over the years. High school volunteers turn into staff for a couple of years. We write them college recommendation letters, or one went on to serve in Greenpeace. One went on to serve in the Peace Corps. We treat them like family, whether they're volunteering, whether they're customers, whether they're vendors. We want to have everybody keep returning year after year.
I think that's a great connection to think back to what you were saying about it being a business incubator.
Mm-hmm.
And so not only that, but a person incubator.
Yes, totally.
In a sense, because to be able to develop those relationships, develop skills that you can now use in other settings is a great opportunity for our youth.
Yeah, this is our first year doing internships as well.
Mm-hmm.
We've never done that before. I never really felt like it was something that we could really offer to a high schooler. I didn't know how interesting that would be above and beyond like their 8 hours that they have to get for volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
But when I talked with the CTE program at, Snohomish High School and AIM High School, they were like, absolutely, this covers so many different realms: customer service, digital
Mm-hmm.
marketing, journalism type skills,
Mm-hmm.
business incubatorship, having a small business. What does that actually look like? And
Mm-hmm.
our intern, he's only come, once so far, but he was just, his eyes had that big kind of round, like glossed over, like, wow, there's so much that goes into this that I didn't know actually had to happen for a farmer's market or a street fair or anything like that to actually take place.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's just, just so much behind the scenes that people may not know.
Mm-hmm.
They just know it's like, all right, there's a lot of people in town. I can't find parking, but I'm going to fight the crowd, get some good food, maybe grab some flowers and some crafts.
Exactly.
Joyful stuff. So one of the things, I was thinking about the episode we recorded from your podcast, The Market Maven, check it out, was just talking about uncomfortable conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And even in just the past week, you and I were talking a little bit about some things that are just happening in our world right now that are just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So I'll toss the question to you first. What are some things that are just making you uncomfortable right now that you feel we need to talk about?
Oh, that is so loaded. Mic drop. I mean, there's like a weight of the world right now. And there's this kind of pendulum swinging back and forth, right? You get the weight of the world. There's an election coming up. Personally, I'm not necessarily excited about either. I know what I need to do to keep like sanity, but this is the best we can do right now. That's what I feel like. And I think as a woman too, not necessarily of childbearing age, but still I think about all of these women that I work with, younger women, adolescents that are coming into this world where they're kind of treated like a second-class citizen. And then I go further, people of color, LGBTQI+, they're treated even less human. And that just like the weight of that just starts pounding. And it's like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do?
Right.
And then sometimes it's like object paralysis, right? You're like, well, I can't do anything. So therefore I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to sit in my hammock chair and read a fiction book to take me away.
Right.
But then the pendulum swings the other way of the farmer's market is a space in the community where we can advocate and promote for inclusivity, diversity, celebrate those things, make sure it's known that we support pride, make sure it's known that we have Black farmers that need the love just as much as the white farmers. And like, these are people that are trying to make our community better places. And that's the thing I can do right now.
Yeah.
But sometimes it gets overwhelming and exhausting. And the mind just is like shut down, can't do anything. At least we're safe in Washington. But are we?
You're right.
Because it only takes one election cycle. And we've seen it here in Snohomish.
Right.
Thankfully, Snohomish has changed some, but there's still the underlyings. And if those squeaky wheels keep getting the microphone or keep getting the voice boxes, it's only a matter of time before we see what happened a couple of years ago happen again. And it's scary.
Yeah. And it is interesting to think about how we in our current situations are impacted by it. But then to really dig into how is it really impacting those the most who may identify a certain way, because I don't always get it when someone says, here's this event over here that impacted me in a negative way, and it's like, oh, I had no idea. And so it's just really, really important that we dig into what it is that's going on. And whenever I think about being overwhelmed, I really just think about like, well, what is my current lane and what is my capacity? And that helps to keep me sane some days.
Yeah, and there's that saying, like, you can't fill somebody else's cup if yours is empty. So always trying to remember that. But at the same time, if you're in the public all the time, or you on social media a lot, as I have to be with monitoring markets and stuff like that, I just see commentary where I'm like, could you just go away? Or like, there is the theory of just keep scrolling. It literally doesn't affect you, like cis white dude.
And, you know, it is interesting when we think about these, again, uncomfortable conversations. I think one of the things that challenges me the most is when, you know, maybe I'm scrolling and I see something that my concern is often if someone is bold enough to say this on social media with maybe their picture by it, their name, like, how is this person going to show up in person? You know, that's a struggle. And so one of the things that I continue to struggle with, and, you know, I saw them pop up a little bit more after the debate, you know, that that could be a whole nother episode too.
Good.
But, you know, when I see some of the trucks with the different stickers and flags, and, you know, as I mentioned before, I served in the Army, you know, I do still say the Pledge of Allegiance. I still struggle with it.
I skip some parts.
Yes, that whole liberty and justice for all, because we're not there. And then, of course, the same thing with the national anthem. It's just like when you hear it and you really think about it, it's discouraging.
Really, it is.
Yeah. And, you know, when I think back to what I believe is in our founding documents, even though the people who wrote it, you know, owned slaves, the whole concept of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And so when I think back on that and I hear some of the things that are happening with the Supreme Court or with agendas pending the election, it's like, how does this allow for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for every person that's in this country?
Yeah, it's like they've spun a web so complicated and convoluted that really, if you just broke the whole web down and you got back to the basics of that, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, equality for all, those types of things, one nation without the second part, separation of that, it would just, I feel like we could just get back to what the actual roots, the good roots of the country are.
Right. As I mentioned in a previous episode, I tend to be very music minded. So when you said one nation, all of a sudden I went under a groove.
I would love that.
Get some Parliament Funkadelic going.
I would love that way better than the current version.
And dance, right? Because it's a mess. It's scary right now. And I try not to get too worked up over it. But the way I'm looking at it right now is there is a candidate that has a specific agenda that just does not really feel like it's supportive of freedom for everybody.
Correct.
Okay. And then on the counter, if that candidate does not win the election, as it previously occurred, there's going to be conversations about fraud. There might be more action that we could reflect on from January 6th. And it's like, where's the win in this right now?
Right. Yeah. It's kind of the double-edged sword.
Yeah.
And that's terrifying.
It is.
I remember January 6th, and I remember being on a meeting, the same meeting that I was on this morning, which is just all the market managers get together and we talk about different things and policies and stuff, and clicking over and seeing like some of the updates and just being like, hang on a second, and like getting goosebumps similar to 9/11 of like something is happening and it's bigger than we realize. And like, it's about to go down. And then I like mentioned in the meeting, like, hey, is anybody seeing these news updates? And then we all like ended the call early. And then I was just glued to my TV the rest of the day. And I went up to my husband's office and I was like, did you see what's happening right now? Like, is this reality? Is this something that either of us ever thought we'd see in our lifetime? And now we're thinking it could happen a second time in less than 5 years. Like, what?
Right.
We haven't learned anything.
And of course, if it does happen again, and if it's in the capacity of official duties, it wouldn't matter anyway.
Right? Oh.
How uncomfortable can we get today? But yeah, it's just really, really concerning. And, when I reflect on January 6th, I know I talked about this on some episode somewhere, but I just remember being at work and one of the guys comes over. He's like, oh, they're attacking the Capitol. And I'm like,
What?
huh? Like, what are you even talking about? And I was like, all right, kept doing my stuff. Then I pull up the, not ESPN, because I got sports on my mind, CNN link. I pull that up and I'm like, yo, like, what is this? And
Yeah.
I could not take my eyes off of the news when I got home that day.
Mhm.
Like, hold up, did this really happen here?
Yeah.
Like, no, this happens in other places in the world. This doesn't happen here.
Right.
Wow. And I think back to even when I visited the Capitol, the amount of security to try to get in there.
Mhm.
And it's like, hey, take your keys out, take your pen out of your pocket, everything, all the things you had to do to get in that building. And it's like, oh, and here we are. Hundreds, if not thousands of people storming the building. Ugh. And then to see a Confederate flag march through the Capitol is like, wow, that's telling about what's going on in the world and the conversations that we're not having. But one of the things I struggle with even after that day is how easy it is for some people to turn a blind eye to how things impact people. So kind of even going back to what we were saying about how situations impact community members. But I was in a meeting at work and there was, just casual conversations like, okay, let's check in. How are you doing? And I'm sitting here like, do you really want to know how I'm doing?
No.
Because I'm not doing well right now. Because one of the things that really resonated with me with January 6th was here's one of the most secure buildings in our nation that has now been overran by this mob.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. With someone directing them to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay. And I was forced to think back on, let's even call it our recent history, because we can go at least the 1960s, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and further back from there, where it wasn't surprising for someone to be attacked in their home,
Right.
in their driveway, at their workplace, in certain spaces. And one of the things when I first started working in this area, I did question, am I going to be safe here?
Mm-hmm.
And the place where I live, I'm not going to give my address, but where I live, it's a pretty visible location. And I always thought about, what if someone sees me on my deck and feels like, well, he don't belong there?
Mm-hmm.
What if someone knows who I am and they see me at work? Oh, he shouldn't have that job. That's what people were subject to in the early 20th century,
Yeah.
And to see that attack on the Capitol, it made me really question my safety. So going back to that meeting that I was in, I really just told people how I felt. And I ended up breaking down. Like I was like just the ugly cry.
Oh,
I had
wow.
to turn my screen off,
Yeah.
And I sat there for a minute, not even knowing what to do, because I'm like, I'm at work right now.
Yeah.
And I'm in a meeting where I just had to turn my screen off.
Yeah.
It's like, do I go home? Can I go home? Like,
Mhm.
what does this mean for me right now?
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a friend come over, and she's like, hey, let's just go outside and get some fresh air. And so we did. And, I was able to, recenter myself. But that for me was a super scary time. And then looking at how it's been handled over that was 21,
Mm-hmm.
over 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And still like, well, we don't know if, we can bring certain people up on charges for this.
Right.
Really? Like,
It's-
okay.
And we're paying for that too.
Yeah.
Taxpayers are paying for 3.5 years of that.
Mm. And I mean, there's some people who participated,
Right.
who, have been convicted and sent to prison, but it's like what's really going on?
But we could be 6 months away from them all getting out of jail too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
that starts the spinning of
hmm
why am I here? Why am I doing this? Why should I
Mhm.
care? Why should I vote? The apathy, all of those
Mhm.
types of things,
Yeah.
I think that hit communities, because I would consider you a very strong individual
Mm.
and I consider myself a strong individual. And when we have those moments where somebody asks you if you're okay or how are you doing, and you can't lie anymore about being okay, I wonder what people who don't necessarily have a hold on their emotions, how are they feeling? How can we help them in our communities feel like they can come out? Yeah, it's just a constant, like, how can we make sure we're a safe space, but also protect ourselves too?
Yeah. And I just love that you said that, because when we talk about the core concepts of inclusion and belonging, inclusion is about, am I safe in this space? Am I safe to say what I want to say, think what I want to think, be who I want to be, and do I belong here? And so that whole idea of having to suppress or silence yourself.
Yeah.
Hey, no one's forcing you to be silent, but no, I know to be silent because I know no one wants to hear what I got to say right now.
Exactly.
That's just a bad space to be in.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about that enough.
I want to touch on that a little bit because last fall, this little class came up in my feed that the woman who I started my entire origin story with, that I started volunteering with her and asked her if she needed an assistant. Her and I kind of parted ways for a while in the midst of our lives. And then this class came up and we had never really talked or made up or anything like that, but she was teaching the class. And something in my gut just was like, I'm going to reach out to her. I'm going to see, because it looked like a class. It was a class about self-reflection, how you like build yourself, deal with your emotions and not deal with them and like cover them up, like really express.
Right.
It was like finding your true self. And then to do that with her, who I hadn't really made up with. Well, fast forward, she said, yes, come to the class. And I thought, we're just going to read this book. We're going to do some homework, but it's 5 women. It's called Warrior Goddess Training by Heather Ashamara.
Oh, right.
And it is a process. And man, you had to dig deep, like big time deep, of like, who am I? What are my emotional triggers? All that kind of stuff, all while revealing these things to women that you hadn't met in this safe space. So that was what we opened with, was safe space guidelines. And I went to the first class. I went to the second class. I went to the retreat, and it's helped to a certain extent, because like you were talking about, when you had to go home and your friend came over and she just took you outside, we can come back to our breath. Like that is the thing that we own outright. It's ours, and we can come back to it and just breathe a few times. Everybody can do that. It's accessible to all for the most part, unless you're on a respirator. And it kind of helps just a little bit of clarity. I can say that class helped with many other things, of saying like, you don't have to say I'm okay. You don't have to say I'm sorry. I'm trying to say I'm sorry, or I'm trying to not say I'm sorry, because we constantly apologize. Oh, sorry for my delay in response to the email. What delay? I don't have a time frame. You know what I mean? Or, oh, sorry, I didn't hear that last comment that you made. That just, hey, I didn't hear you. Like we're in this thing that we keep doing that, and we subject ourselves to, disparaging comments and things like that. And we're constantly feeling like we're either having to apologize or just be okay, because nobody wants to hear that we're not okay. Because then that allows them the space to maybe not be okay too. And then what are we, just a bunch of ugly crying people on a Zoom call?
Hey.
But that's okay. It really is okay.
Yeah. If we really, dig to the heart of what's going on. But yeah, there are absolutely times where, there are things that are on our minds. And I guess for me, I'm really selective in who I open up to. But I am grateful to have some people in my life where it's like, hey man, how it's going? It's like, I'm going through it right now. You got a minute?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's some people like, oh, we're good.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
Well, it's all burning down around you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But then I am also that person sometimes. And so people don't think I'm not being authentic. I'll say I'm doing absolutely awesome. And for me, a lot of times that is about me choosing my attitude.
Yes,
where
for
it's
sure.
like, I am in the middle of a dumpster fire right now, but it's absolutely awesome, because if it's winter, it's like warm right now.
Yeah.
Or it's like, hey, I have a plan. We're in it right now, but I got a plan. I'm thinking, and this is going to really help propel us to get to where we need to be.
Exactly.
So, choose the attitude. But yep, there are some days that you have to have the ugly cry at work.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
I've had a few of those days at the market.
That was hard. Yeah.
I mean, I had to go behind a tent and stand when I went into the building that we have access to, and I punched a wall, like, because that's what I needed to do in that moment. And then I sucked it up, came back out, and ran the market the rest of the day.
Okay. So for all the listeners here, just to be really clear, it's okay for women to punch walls, and it's okay for 350-pound men to cry. So, all right.
Yeah. Now that we've gotten that out of the way.
Yes. Because there's all that social programming of who's supposed to act what way at what time, where it's like, if you don't fit this image, then there's a problem.
Yes. Yeah. I've had that actually happen at the market too. Somebody came up and said, who's in charge of this whole thing? And at the time, one of the high schoolers that was working with me, she goes, oh, Sarah. And she pointed to me. No. Like, who puts the whole thing together?
No.
And she was a little feminist herself. And she goes, nope, Sarah is in charge of everything.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like behind the scenes, who, like, they just kept going. And then when she finally was like, Sarah does everything here. She goes, oh, but I don't know if it was a guy or a gal, but they said no. And I just kind of looked at them.
Really?
I think I put my hands on my hips, in your like teacher stance. And I was like, what is that supposed to mean? Well, like, you're like a woman and you're like dressed super cute. Why would I think that you could do that? And I was just like, I had to like look around and be like, is this happening right now? This weird thing. I'm like, yeah, it's me. It takes a lot of work. And thankfully I'm type A. So
yeah,
here we are.
Oh.
And I've had vendors let me know that people have said things to them, like, oh, it looks like you've gained weight, or just these things. And I'm like, what filters do we need to have? Like, we just got done talking about taking the filters off, but at the same time, societally, like, you can just not say the thing. You can keep scrolling. You can just keep your opinions to yourselves. But it goes into that, gender roles or whatever it is, like the expectation that no, a man has to run this, or this type of person has to run this, or, I'm a market manager and I don't grow things. I don't grow fruits and vegetables. I don't grow my own food. I don't know much about it. That's okay. I know how to organize the crap out of a city street in 3.5 hours.
That's awesome. We know what we know. But, when you're sharing that story, it made me think to a couple situations that I've been through. I'm excited to say, though, since I've worked here, I've not really had something like that happen.
Oh, I'm so glad.
And can I say I was surprised?
100%. I'm
okay,
surprised.
Okay. But I remember walking into a classroom, and this would have been during my first year. And this kid looks up at me and he says, are you our superintendent? And I'm like, yo, like, okay. Like, I'm not the superintendent, but the fact that you saw me walk in and that's the first thing that crossed your mind, it's kind of awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because the flip of that was back in 2011, I was just preparing to finish up my teaching cert. And I was invited to attend a career fair. A principal was like, hey, we're interested in you for a teaching job. Why don't you come down and see what the opportunities are? And, we'll talk from there. And I'm like, okay, cool. So, here I am. And, with my backstory, having been, in the military, working odd jobs, working my way through school, graduating during a recession, becoming a paraeducator, substitute security. I'm like hustling and grinding, trying to get to this point to where, oh, wow, I now have this master's degree. I have this certificate, and I'm applying for a high demand position. I'm suited up. I got my portfolio. I'm like, oh, trim the beard up. I was looking good. I was ready to go in and do my thing. And so I walk into the building, and there's an older African-American woman sitting off to the side, checking people in. And I walk in, I'm kind of looking around the room like, all right, where's this principal that I'm looking for? And she's like, oh, hey, the classified positions are over there. And I'm like, oh, well, thank you.
What?
But I'm here for a certificated position, and nothing against classified employees.
Right.
But here's someone who looks like me, who addressed me in a way that, oh, here's what you must be here for. And I'm like, man, really?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's disappointing.
But one of the things I want to get across with that is that, it can come from all places. It doesn't have to be someone who looks differently or identifies differently than we do. It can come from anywhere at any time. And how do we get better in that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great question that I do not know the answer to.
Okay. For our next episode.
I think having the conversations, I have a good friend, and I really didn't think that we were going to connect on the level that we did, simply because of backgrounds and preferences and those types of things. And I got to go on a trip with her and have some conversations while we were floating in the ocean, just difficult conversations. And I don't know if it was because it was in Mexico and we were in really nice warm water and we had like a margarita. She doesn't drink, but just having conversations, being afraid that maybe what I'm about to say could jeopardize a little bit of our friendship, not at her, but just saying like, I believe this, and who am I to say what somebody decides to do with their body, decides to do with their orientation, decides to do with their gender. It literally means nothing to me.
Right.
And I remember her reflecting back and telling me how much she adored my friendship with her because I was able to have that conversation with her and give her a perspective to think about. She said, I know that you're not going to make me have to agree with you, but she said just the fact that the way you presented it got me thinking about how I can be better in my life and more inclusive. And, she runs a networking group, so she kind of needs to be inclusive. And we've been closer and closer and closer. And it was having that uncomfortable conversation of like, I don't know if it's the margarita giving me the courage, or like, we're in this kind of Zen place. And so it's okay to talk about this kind of stuff. I think having more of those conversations, I've had to have it with another friend who's almost the completely opposite of that. Just saying, hey, this is where I'm at. And I'm not saying that you have to be there, but maybe something to think about.
Yeah. So on that same note, have you ran into people who maybe question intentions when you were so free and not judging? Does that make sense?
Question.
So I'll go to my experiences. Sure. Because I'm chill. I'm chill Will. That's who I am. Right. I've had situations with people where they may say something that's kind of on the surface outlandish to me, something I'm unfamiliar with. And I'm like, okay, yeah, do that. And they're like, so you're okay with that? I'm 100% okay with you doing that. I may not necessarily do it. I might be intrigued by it because it's not something I've heard of before. But I am that easygoing person that's like, hey, yes, I support you. You do you, and we're good. But on the flip side of that, well, you can't just be that free. You can't be that easygoing. You have to have some kind of a judgment or some kind of a feeling about it. Actually, I don't. So have you encountered anything like that where...
Probably not, because I'm not as chill as you are.
The truth comes out.
I'm a little feisty. So if somebody does or if I do disagree, I might question like, why? Yeah. Why is that way? There have been times where I'm just like kind of agree to disagree, but I don't really want to talk about it anymore because I'm just kind of like, okay. I mean, yes, still they're going to do what they're going to do. Yeah. But I've never been questioned that way of like, wow, how can you just be okay with that? With me being this way. Yeah. I guess. Okay. Yeah. Not as chill. Okay. I'm working on it. That's why I went through those classes and
you be you. You don't need to change. It's
no, but I know I'm like wound. Yeah. I'm wound super tight and have been wound really tight before. Okay. And so I'm trying in my 40s to get rid of that.
Yeah. And I'm trying in my 50s to be a little more, I'm going to be a little feisty 50. That's me now. I'm going to bring it.
I like it.
Like, hold up. Will said something. That's right. I said something. I'm going to say it again. And here's what I'm going to do.
Exactly.
Well, we're getting close to about the time that we tend to wrap up because I like to keep my episodes commute friendly, as I call it.
True.
Takes me about 25 minutes or so to get to work. And so between 30, 45 minutes is what we tend to do. But I do have a question I want to ask you.
Okay.
And I just started this one up recently because I used to DJ, love music. And a friend said, well, why don't you ask, like, what would be their theme song when they walk in?
Oh, dang.
Yeah, right?
Oh, my God. This is so difficult. So I do have a song. I can't say that it's necessarily like a walk-in song, but I play it on the first day of market season every single year. And I think I've done it for 10 years now. It's the song called Atlas by Coldplay. They wrote it, I believe, for the Hunger Games movies. And the main chorus in it says, "I'll carry your world." And it's just beautiful. It gives me goosebumps even thinking about it. And I listen to that. It's a little bit more of a slow, chill song and has a build to it.
Yeah.
And I just love it. When I want a theme song or when I need to get a little feistier, I do go to Taylor Swift's, what is it? It's the one about hate. Like, you need to calm down.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that one too.
That one. I'm not a Swiftie.
That's okay. I wouldn't consider myself a Swiftie, but when I saw the video for that, it came out around a Pride type of time frame. And so the video is quite amazing. And then when I just need a little pump up, I get that song going.
I have to check that out. I always love adding music to my playlist. And maybe I'll even have an at-home-ish playlist on Spotify.
Ooh, that would be a great idea. All of people's favorite songs and then yours thrown in there too.
Yeah.
I love that.
I'll have to reach back out to people and say, hey, well, what's your theme song?
I would 100% listen to that because I don't like building my own playlists. I love just curated ones that I'm like, oh, that works. I like that.
But think about this in the sense of belonging. You walk into a room and then all of a sudden your song starts playing. Do you feel like you own that room?
100%.
Like, this is my jam right here.
Yes.
And I think back to my days when I would go to the club. I was a bit of a wallflower. I'm on this side, just kind of hanging out. Why are you mad? I'm not mad. I'm just sitting here chilling, you know. But then you have in your mind, like, but if this song comes on, I'm gonna get on the dance floor and act the fool.
Absolutely.
And so just to have that in our lives just really helps to create, you know, spaces where we belong.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I feel like we had a lot of good takeaways from here. Oh my gosh. So a couple of the key takeaways I got was, you know, finding that joy in the time when the market opened, seeing everyone showing up and engaging. And I think when we talk about creating spaces where we belong, the joy comes in having that space.
Absolutely.
And so I remember when we talked on your podcast, you know, just questions on what do we do? How do we engage in this working in this conversation? The thing that brings you joy is the thing that moves this work forward.
Yes.
So I greatly appreciate everything that you're doing.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, okay, listeners, before we wrap up, I got a little quick call to action for you. The conversation today was just maybe a little bit heavier than we typically get into on here. But when we talk about creating spaces where we belong and speaking our authentic voice, we have to have those difficult conversations.
Yeah.
And so what I will continue to encourage you to do is, one, think about it first. Think about what you're feeling. Think about the thoughts that are going through your head and have a conversation with someone close to you initially, someone that you can trust, your bestie, your homie, your boo, whoever. Have that conversation with them to just really be able to process some things, because we have to deal with this stuff in the real world.
Yeah, and it's not going away.
Right. And if we don't talk about it, if we try to ban conversations about it, we're not going to get better. And so I encourage you to engage in the conversations. I encourage you to interact with me on social media. Ask me your question, or maybe I'll ask you a question. But let's make sure we keep this conversation going, because that's the only way we're going to continue to get better and have any hopes of wising up and rising up. Peace out.